This is the first of a series of webinars that will provide insights, techniques, tools, and resources that will help us assist our homeless veteran clients address the many challenges they're likely to encounter on their journey to stable housing and rewarding employment. We will be covering 3 topics over the next 20 minutes. First, we'll briefly explore some of the things we know about homeless veterans, taking a look at some recent statistics. We'll discover that although many homeless veterans share similar obstacles, each one really is an individual with a unique set of strengths, assets, and barriers to employment. Second, we'll preview the topics that we will cover during this series of webinars. Several of the presentations will address strategies we can use when assisting homeless veterans gain and retain employment, whether our role in our American Job Centers, otherwise known as AJCs, is to work with veterans directly or to conduct employer outreach to find and create employment opportunities for homeless veterans. We will look at ways to create and strengthen partnerships with our partners in this fight against veteran homelessness. Other webinars will address specific sets of obstacles and opportunities our clients may face as they strive to find and keep good jobs. These webinars will introduce techniques and tools we can use to help our clients successfully manage some of those challenges. When we face obstacles that require expertise and resources that we typically do not have within our American Job Centers, we'll introduce local community resources with which we can partner. Third, we'll briefly introduce several resources you can download or find links to in this webinar's homepage, including the transcript of this webinar. Since we can't possibly cover in sufficient detail everything we need to learn during these webinars, we will provide links to our websites, publications, videos, and other resources to support our continuing professional development. Let's begin by taking a look at what we know about homeless veterans. On one night in late January every year, hundreds of volunteers fan out across the country to conduct a census of homeless persons. These volunteers talk to people in shelters, in transitional or temporary treatment housing, and on the streets. This point-in-time count is the basis for dividing up federal homeless service dollars, but also gives us an insight into the lives of people experiencing homelessness. In recent years, these volunteers began to ask an important question of the individuals they met. Have you ever served in the U.S. Armed Forces? Following these local counts, data is rolled up into a national report giving us an annual look at changes in demographics and the number of people experiencing homelessness, including veterans. This point-in-time count provides a snapshot of homelessness, and in the most recent snapshot we have, taken in 2014, 49,933 veterans were homeless. While veterans experience homelessness across the country, the majority of homeless veterans are in 4 states: California, Texas, New York, and Florida. The states with the highest rates of unsheltered homeless veterans are Montana, Nevada, California, Hawaii, and Georgia. Although this figure, 49,933, may seem like a daunting number, there is hope. Since 2010, veteran homelessness has declined 33%. This means over 24,000 veterans who were homeless achieved housing stability. A national effort to end veteran homelessness is driving down the numbers, and the nation is on target to successfully end veteran homelessness by the end of 2015. In fact, several cities, including New Orleans, have already ended homelessness in their cities. Other large cities, including New York, Salt Lake City, and Phoenix, continue to make defined progress, dropping veteran homeless rates by 10% in 1 year between 2013 and 2014. A critical factor in achieving success in this mission is to ensure homeless and at-risk veterans have access to increased economic security through increased access to work opportunities. AJCs and their designated disabled veteran outreach program staff are a critical partner in this effort. If you're curious to see the statistics for your individual state, we've provided a link on this webinar's website where you can download that information. We know that in the work you do, individuals matter more than aggregate data points. Let's talk about some of the demographic characteristics of veterans experiencing homelessness. Veterans are historically overrepresented in the homeless population. 11% of the homeless adult population are veterans. The 10 major city continua of care with the largest number of homeless veterans accounted for 26% of all homeless veterans in the nation. Over 75% of homeless veterans reside in cities. If you are serving homeless individuals in your AJC, you are likely to be serving veterans, even if they have not self-identified as a veteran. Some common demographic characteristics may be familiar to you. The typical homeless person has a disability, resides in a city, and is Caucasian. However, several other demographic factors can characterize individual veterans within the homeless veteran population. Roughly 40% of all homeless veterans are African American or Hispanic, although together these two groups account for approximately 14% of veterans. 4% of homeless veterans were homeless as members of a family with children. Nearly 10% of homeless veterans are under age 30, while over 50% are over age 50. The veterans we serve through the AJC are not easily categorized based on demographic majorities. Veterans experiencing homelessness struggle to overcome complicated barriers. The Department of Veterans Affairs estimated that about 45% of homeless veterans were wrestling with mental illness. The VA also estimated that more than 70% of homeless veterans had substance use disorders. Over half of homeless veterans also struggle to overcome other health challenges. Some homeless veterans struggle to overcome compounding disabling conditions, including both mental health problems and substance use disorders. Additional challenges face those veterans who are in extreme poverty and at high risk of homelessness. Recent estimates show that over 1.4 million veterans are at risk of becoming homeless due to poverty, a lack of support networks, or overcrowded or substandard housing. Access to income and employment can bridge the gap between risk and stability. Some of the trends in veteran homelessness might surprise you. Homelessness among women veterans is increasing, with recent estimates placing this figure at 10% of the homeless veteran population. As the number and percentage of women in the military continues to increase, it's about 16% today, we can expect to see increases in the percentage of women veterans experiencing homelessness. Homelessness among young veterans is also increasing. Following military transition, both Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom veterans experience higher homeless incidences. While homelessness among veterans with dependent children has largely stayed consistent in recent years, these veterans face unique and complicated challenges when returning to work. As we see from these trends, women, young individuals, and individuals with children coming in our doors may be among the ranks of homeless veterans. We've included a link to the webpage for the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans in case you'd like to dig into the source documents for their statistics. We can draw several broad conclusions from the data we just discussed. Early research on veteran homelessness draws broad conclusions about possible risk factors. Age, race, mental and physical illness, experience with trauma, and economic status prior to military service may all contribute to later homelessness risk. In-service exposure to combat and traumatic brain injury, TBI, may also have indirect effects on risk. Post-service factors include family breakup, prior history of homelessness, incarceration history, or military sexual trauma, MST, can also impact homelessness risk. However, out of all the risk factors, the presence of mental disorders, substance-related disorders, and/or mental illness is the strongest predictor of becoming homeless after discharge from active duty. Taken together, these risk factors begin to reveal the challenges faced by veterans that could lead to homelessness. For many veterans, even those at high risk, the difference between homeless and those with housing comes down to basic economic factors. Job loss, unemployment, and underemployment all impact a veteran's ability to obtain and maintain housing stability. Now that we have a snapshot of the scope of the Homeless Veteran Challenge as well as basic demographics, risks, and trends, let's preview some of the topics we'll cover in upcoming webinars. In the next webinar, we will discuss strategies, resources, and programs aimed at helping our clients address the possible barriers blocking a successful return to competitive employment. We will look at resources supporting barriers related to transportation, child care, and legal issues. We will share tools for obtaining necessary identification and documents. By building these barriers into service planning, we can have constructive conversations with veteran clients about responsibility and priorities. This process will help us and the veteran track progress to competitive employment with clear division of responsibilities and steps. In the third webinar, we'll look at best practices for identifying and creating employment opportunities for veterans experiencing homelessness. We'll discuss the concerns many employers have about hiring homeless veterans and look at various tools we can use to address both their legitimate concerns and inaccurate stereotypes. We will also describe programs and organizations that specialize in developing work opportunities for clients who may not yet be ready for full-time competitive employment. We will discuss the cost and benefits of these programs and describe how we can help veterans access these resources. This webinar will provide us with concrete access points to additional training and employment tools inside and outside of the AJC. In this webinar, we'll take a look at the purposes and principles of the Job-Driven Training Initiative. We'll outline ways we can work with employers to identify local and regional hiring needs, design training programs that are responsive to those needs, and develop work-based learning opportunities. These include on-the-job training, internships, and pre-apprenticeships and registered apprenticeships. We'll emphasize the process of developing actionable steps with timelines for pursuing these goals and the importance of partnering among businesses, educational institutions, labor organizations, nonprofits, and American job centers. In this webinar, we will drill down into details of securing stable and rewarding employment. We will look at tools and methods we can use with our clients to help them to understand the 3D process, which entails discover, develop, and describe the capabilities and contributions a veteran can offer an employer. The Discover phase will focus on translating previous experience into a solid resume. This phase focuses on client strengths, with an emphasis on interest, work preferences, skills, knowledge, and aptitudes they've acquired. We will outline strategies and tools for unpacking military service into translated civilian skills, even when no comparable civilian occupation exists. We will outline strategies for using non-work experience and innovative resumes to build an attractive resume for employers. The discovery process also includes understanding the needs, priorities, and concerns of hiring decision makers. In the develop phase, we'll explore ways to tap into employment training and life skills resources within and beyond the AJC. Several programs within the AJC can be a good fit for veterans seeking continued occupational training, and resources outside the AJC can help our clients build their soft and technical skills to better serve employers. In the describe phase, we'll discuss ways our clients can educate prospective employers about the contributions they can offer. We'll emphasize job search strategies that work best when pursuing employment opportunities in the hidden job market. These opportunities, the side doors and back doors to employment, are important because many of our homeless clients may be at a disadvantage when competing for advertised vacancies or the front door to employment. We will return to community partners that can assist us and our clients in this process so veterans can be strong advocates for their vocational interest. This session includes mock interviewing tools and methods for emphasizing strengths during the interview process. Many homeless veterans must contend with two very significant barriers to employment: the stigma and logistical obstacles related to homelessness, and the stigma and legal complications related to recent incarceration. In this webinar, we'll address practical steps our ex-offender clients can use to address employer concerns, the need to adapt to legal restrictions that might limit job search options, and recent guidance from the Equal Employment and Opportunity Commission related to arrest and conviction records. Homeless veterans may face significant barriers to employment, but we are not alone in helping them navigate service systems. As we mentioned in the introduction, a national effort to end and prevent veteran homelessness has supported a nationwide service delivery system that includes local agencies there to support us. In this webinar, we'll take a look at relevant programs, organizations, initiatives, and resources that operate in our communities that we or our clients might be able to draw upon to neutralize barriers to employment. We'll offer examples of best practice models for referrals to make it easier for you and your clients to take advantage of supportive services provided by other agencies. We'll also talk about creative tactics for building out our supportive service network if we're located in a rural area with limited resources. We'd like to close this webinar by explaining how you can submit questions you may have. If you scroll down the page in which you're watching this presentation, you'll see a link labeled Questions and Answers. By clicking on the link, you'll be able to submit questions about anything we've covered today or about issues related to homeless veterans that you'd like us to address in upcoming webinars. We will research the answers to your questions and post it on the Questions and Answers page as quickly as possible. Also, we encourage you to visit the resources page we've listed. In the meantime, be on the lookout for an email from the National Veterans Training Institute alerting you to the release of webinar number 2.